the Washington office this would be the third week, I've been briefing Navajo Nation leadership on the ongoing struggles with the SNAP benefits, the impact of the federal government shutdown, and briefing council delegates on the response from Navajo Department of Health, Navajo Division for Children and Family Services. And so in those efforts, the Washington office has been coordinating with the different divisions and different executive programs. So since we have Mr. Redhouse on the line, Mr. Redhouse, can you just provide a summary for leadership who's on the call and the staffers so that we're all on the same page on what's been presented at the Washington office, and if you have any additional information that you wanted to provide on this call?
Yes. Thank you, Honorable Delegate Crotty. Yeah, today, everyone, this is Vince Redhouse, Executive Director, Navajo Nation, Washington office. I'll jump right into things and just get started on the situation. I understand this call is specifically in regard to SNAP benefits.
Yes.
With the government shutdown, SNAP funds did expire about a month into the shutdown on November 1st. There's different responses from different folks on how to resolve this. But in general, SNAP benefits are paid by the federal government to states. The Navajo Nation does not directly distribute SNAP payments. Those go to the states and get distributed to our membership from there. At the federal level, there have been lots of different discussions going on about SNAP, how to resolve it. There were suggestions that the White House could pay for it using an emergency fund that's primarily there. We've heard various things. It's there for emergency relief efforts. It's there for emergencies related maybe to WIC as opposed to disaster relief. And so there have been lots of fights on that. Congress has entertained various bills that would fund SNAP in particular throughout the shutdown. All of those have failed.
Recording in progress.
With Director Cody and Director Yazzie, getting information to them as quickly as we can so they know how to advise our membership on the ground. The most recent developments is what I sent out last night, is that there was a court order, two separate district court orders that came through requiring the Trump administration to pay SNAP benefits. We alluded to in our earlier calls with counsel that it's legally suspect as to whether or not the administration would have to comply with those orders directly or just within across the entire United States or just within those jurisdictions. The way the administration is playing it is that they were complying with them across the entire United States. The administration agreed to use about $5.1 billion, which it had in that emergency fund, to pay SNAP benefits, recognizing that it would only be partial payments, given that the general monthly total for SNAP is around $9 billion. So that was supposed to happen on Monday. The administration said there were going to be delays in getting that funding out. There have been multiple answers given as to why that could be. The most realistic answer is that it's difficult to get those monies out, given they are listed as emergency funds, and so they'd have to be transferred to a separate account. And that issue is compounded by the fact that a lot of staff have been furloughed. And so the people who have the expertise to make those transfers probably aren't there. And then on the state side, some of the states who just elected to shut down their EBT systems would have to restart them. So there have been some delays. We've heard reports of people in California receiving their benefits. We've also heard reports of people in Arizona possibly receiving benefits, but we've not seen anything on the news to validate that. Just yesterday, a district court in Rhode Island came out and said the Trump administration has provided full funding for SNAP by today. The Trump administration immediately appealed that decision, and they requested that the appeal be decided by 4 p.m. Eastern today, or in approximately 2 hours. So we're still waiting to hear what's going to happen on that. It's also possible SNAP gets resolved in a vote today at Congress. One of the deals that Congress is working on right now would fund several of the larger appropriations bills, which would include agriculture, where SNAP is. So that could potentially get passed today or this weekend, possibly. It does appear that the Senate is committed to trying to get something done this weekend, but no guarantees, obviously, on that happening. So that's the current situation. Like I said, I believe I've been in contact with Director Cody and Director Yazzie on this frequently. Director Cody put out a PSA on his website and has been providing updates as well. And I know that Director Yazzie on the WIC matter did submit information to Speaker's office, I believe just a day or two ago as well. So I'll stop there. That's the federal situation. It's really all in flux, but we hope to know more by later today.
Okay, appreciate it, Chiyaan. That was the update from the Navajo Nation Washington office, specifically on SNAP. Colleagues, are there any questions for the Washington office, specifically on SNAP?
Delegate Crotty, this is Delegate Charles Newton.
You have the floor, Shada.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Redhouse, for providing that information. I know on this, your explanation is very clear for anyone who understands the way that this whole process works. As you stated at the very beginning, these funds are federal funds given to the states, and then the states are the ones who distribute these funds. And it's a little bit more tricky in terms of getting the funds out to the people, even if the Rhode Island case gets decided by the Court of Appeals and they're in favor of the decision made by Rhode Island to get these funds out. But in terms of the shutdown and in terms of everything that's happening, is it more on the federal side that we're going to see kind of a delay in getting the funds out to the states? That's my first question, because I'm pretty sure that the states are pretty prepared in distributing out those funds. So in terms of the timeline, what are we seeing for some type of relief if the courts come back and the Court of Appeals come back and they say that they side that the SNAP benefits need to be released immediately? And as you know, with the decisions that are being made in that circuit, is that going to, like the Rhode Island decision, is that only going to apply for that circuit? Or is it going to apply for the entire United States? So if the Court of Appeals come back and say, yes, the SNAP benefits need to be distributed ASAP, is that only going to apply for that circuit? Thank you.
Yeah, Shada. Mr. Redhouse, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Delegate Charles, for the questions. With regards to the delays, if it's going to be more of a federal issue than state issue, I think it'll be more of a federal issue. I see that this call is being, is this, I don't want to speculate on to why that is, but.
Oh yeah, this is a public meeting, Mr. Redhouse. So if you feel that some of these questions, then you could defer to our 2:00 call.
Yeah, I'll defer to the 2:00 call on that one, but it's more of a federal delay, I think. The feds are saying that the delays will be somewhat on the state side, but it's going to be more of a federal delay issue. With regards to the timeline, there was a statement made by Secretary Rollins that it could take months. She said that pretty early on to get the payments restarted. The White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt also suggested it's going to take some time to get the money out. Right now, it's really unclear. Even should the Court of Appeals rule in favor of getting the money out or side with the district court to get the money out immediately, it's just not clear how quickly the administration is going to be able to do that. So there was, and so the Rhode Island District Court decision, it's really unclear as to whether it applies nationally. There was a Supreme Court case, I believe we provided an update on it earlier in the year, where the Supreme Court said, district courts do not have the authority to issue temporary restraining orders, injunctions nationwide. They only have the authority to do that within their states, within their districts. Then the courts of appeals only have authority to do it within their jurisdiction. And only the Supreme Court has the authority to issue nationwide injunctions. And so far, the Trump administration has not attempted to leverage that case. So for the example with the reduction in force measures, they've been compliant nationwide with the decision out of the Northern District Court of California. And so we expect that they would continue to comply with it, with the district court decision and apply it nationwide. Does that answer your questions, Delegate Charles Newton?
Yes, it does, and I'm familiar with that case. That's why I was asking with that circuit case decision whether it was going to be applied nationwide or only for that circuit that the New Hampshire court is in. I think that either way, if the courts were to come back to say that it only applies for that circuit, that means that there will be probably other courts that will be filing those cases immediately so that they're also being covered. But at the same time, we also know that that's going to take a lot of time in terms of what we're looking at. So that does affect the timeline. Thank you.
Okay, appreciate it. Next, we're going to go to Department of Emergency Management because we would like to understand the Navajo Nation Executive Branch response to the SNAP challenges. But before we move to Department of Emergency Management, colleagues, are there any other questions for the Washington office regarding SNAP?
I do. This is Andy.
Dr. Andy Nez, you have the floor.
Thank you. To Mr. Red House as well. Thank you. So I just need clarification on the funding. So I know that through the USDA, the funding that potentially could be passed today, if not within the next couple of weeks, depending on those negotiations, does that funding, is it a combination of what the federal agents would be able to return back in process, or is that just solely the funding portion? Because even if that passes, then we're still in a bind to get those issued out to the states. So that's my first question. And then my second question was, my understanding was, and I could be incorrect here, but on the SNAP benefits, how funding was forward funded, and those delays then are currently just because of the government shutdown as far as the employees being furloughed. And if that's not the case, then if this is a step that needs to occur with the budget, then that clarifies my understanding on that concept there. And then I don't know if you were able to find out any more information regarding the percentage-wise that came out from the state of New Mexico. I understand that the governor has called a special session, so I'm just curious and following along with that discussion as well to see what decision they have within the next couple of weeks. I also continue to check in with some of the cashiers that I locally here just to monitor how, I guess, percentage-wise some of these families are receiving those funds. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Judge. Mr. Rittenhouse, do you have any insight on Delegate Dr. Andy Nez's questions?
Oh, yeah. Yes, thank you, Honorable Delegate Nez. So I'll address the first question last. So in terms of the SNAP funds, they are subject to yearly appropriations. They are part of the Farm Bill, but even being part of the Farm Bill, which was actually the reauthorization for that, I believe, ended in September. There's still, everything in that bill is still subject to annual appropriations. With regards to the percentage wise, I do think the entire 30 million was distributed by the state of New Mexico according to the plan that they gave out. Off the top of my head, I'm not recalling exactly what their numbers were, but I believe you had them, and those numbers were correct. I know that I would say for some with the cashiers, it might be tricky because SNAP benefits do carry over from month to month. So there could be people that are going to the grocery stores and using SNAP, but that's just using carryover from previous months. But if they're hearing from the people at the grocery store that they receive their full allocation, that would be. I think you indicated that in one of our emails. That would be very interesting. Like I said, there was a report I saw out of California that they've already received all of their allocation. I've not seen that, and I've not heard it from the New Mexico or Arizona side, or Utah side for that matter. And then, so the first question with the funds that would go out are part of the emergency fund that USDA has. I've not looked into the specifics of where that money comes from. I assume it's not subject to annual appropriations, given that it is such a large amount. I do think what the White House previously said, and that money is specifically reserved for disaster relief efforts, is likely accurate. And so that portion of the funding may have either been a part of maybe a mandatory advanced appropriations process. So I believe that's where that's my I'll call it an educated guess on where those funds are coming from. But it's not the emergency funds are not a part of any rescission or anything like that. Does that answer your questions for right now, Delegate Nez?
Or now, yes, it does. Thank you.
Speaker? Go.
Thank you, Mr. Redhouse. This is Speaker Curley again. Thank you to Shetta Chairwoman Amber Kizabak-Crotty, who's helping me co-facilitate this meeting. Oh, can you? Oh, you can't hear us online. Okay.
Carla, if you're online, do you want to commence with facilitating?
I don't think McCarla's online, so let's just go ahead and proceed from here. We do have the Washington office that provided us a summary. Delegates, are there any other questions at this time?
Delegates, can you hear us online?
Okay, not hearing anything.
Delegates, can you hear us online?
Okay, Delegate Mitchell, the floor is yours.
Oh, we still can't hear us online.
On the Arizona side, I know I read that the governor put more monies into food banks. Is that what's happening in Arizona? I don't know if that's further down the agenda. So, question to Mr. Redhouse.
Mr. Redhouse?
Yes, thank you, Honorable Delegate Mitchell. Yes, the Arizona governor, I believe, I think it was 1.8 million into food banks to help people out during the shutdown, and specifically as a result of the lack of SNAP funding. But I will defer to as I said before, to Director Cody and Director Yazzie if they have further updates of what's happening on the ground, though.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Redhouse. Do we have Director Cody on the line?
Need the mic.
Hello, is that you, Delegate Crotty?
Yeah, you do from the mic. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm not sure who it is that's talking on the mic, but do we have Cheryl Yazzie from Department of Health? Are you on the line?
Because it's going to have a bad feedback. If you're, sorry, Charles, no, we're trying to figure out the technical issues here in the chamber. This is really.
Okay, we can hear your conversation. So do you want us to take a quick pause while you guys are trying to figure out the technical difficulties there in the chambers?
Yes.
Okay, we'll take like a quick pause, maybe about, how much time do you guys need? About 5 minutes?
It's working good. Just don't.
About 3 minutes, so we're just trying to do that. Is it good now? I don't know. So you try this one.
Turn her mic on.
Committee members who are on the call, I hope you guys don't mind, but let's go ahead and take a quick 5-minute break to allow the staff to get reconnected from the chambers. There are some technical difficulties this call, so let's go ahead and let's reconvene at 12:29. It's now 12:24, so 5 minutes. Thank you.
It's working.
We're testing right now. So online Zoom. Can't hear still. Just the way you do it during the council sessions. Oh yeah. Okay. Well, okay. Testing. Testing. Can you hear us on Zoom? Okay, all right, good. We were only connected to YouTube. Only YouTube could hear us, but somehow there was a disconnection between Zoom. All right, I think we got it figured out here in the council chamber. So we do have council delegate Amber Kinsbach-Crotty and also Chairman Otto So that's here with us along with staff. I'm also joined here in the council chamber in person with Director Thomas Cody from Division of Children and Family Services, and also with their PIO, Miss Karen Francis, that's also joining us via Zoom.
Charles Noon, can you hear me?
Yes, Chair, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So just as a recap, Director Redhouse did provide us information, or he provided us the summary on what was going on. We lost Delegate Crotty, so we just went ahead and we proceeded. Delegate Mitchell asked some questions, and then that's where we ran into some difficulties. So we're on a short break, so we'll be 12:29 is what time I told everybody to get back onto the call. So I don't know if there's going to be, if everybody's still on the line listening, or if we should reconvene at 12:29 while you guys were fixing the difficulties there at Chambers. But I'll go ahead and give the floor back to you, Speaker Curley.
Great, thank you, Chairwoman. Thank you for helping stepping in. We do have several facilitators that will be helping throughout this call. So thank you again, Chairwoman Amber Kisbah-Crotty. We are tracking down some of the questions. And just to give a recap for those that are joining us via Zoom, myself, Chairwoman Crotty, and also Council Delegate Sherilyn Yazzie and several of the other delegates have been meeting internally during this past week with many of the executive programs. And from those past two to three meetings, there were many action items that were assigned to the executive programs to see how food banks and also how chapter coordinations are working throughout the nation. So we did urge many of our executive branch programs to begin working together to come up with some type of a plan that is working, and then highlighting what is not working. Along that, getting updates from the state and also federal updates, because there's many different factors that we want to make sure that everyone, all of our Navajo household, has some sort of easier, efficient access to food. So we are calling this team Chiyaan Access Action Team. So we want to thank all of our executive departments that are here joining us, with the delegates that are joining us here in person or via Zoom. So we did get a report from the Washington office and colleagues. Are there any other additional questions from the Washington office? Okay, I don't hear any. So, I did hear earlier Delegate Arbin Mitchell ask about what are the response plans coming from the state. So from the Speaker's office, we did send letters about a week and a half ago to all of our three governors asking for data on SNAP, how many households, how many individuals, and just only to Navajo enrolled members. So the only response that we received with exact data was from the state of Arizona, and then they also went over their plans on how they are appropriating additional dollars to food banks. Earlier, I did hear Mr. Red House say that that's correct, that the state of Arizona is contributing from their ARPA funding about 1.8 million to their food banks. So we did take that initiative again to urge that the governor work with rural tribal communities throughout the state for those food banks. So we haven't get an exact schedule on where those food banks will be deployed from the state of Arizona, other than what we do have from St. Mary's. And also additionally was the 300,000 that was also given, and that was for fresh farm vouchers. And yesterday, the Division of Children and Family Services did give explanation on what that is and who and where. So those types of updates, we'll give it back to Children's Family Services to give those updates. So along the way, we'll get updates from all of the departments. From the state of Utah, we did get an update that the legislature was looking into appropriating $500,000 a week for food banks, so in the state of Utah. And again, we did provide that communication back to the lieutenant governor's office, that the communities, Navajo communities in the southern portion of Utah should also be considered for those food deliveries. And then within the state of New Mexico, has responded that they have appropriated $30 million from the state, and that was for a span of 10 days. So that's about 2 weeks worth of SNAP benefits for all enrolled citizens within the state of New Mexico. But at the same time, we're still emphasizing that's still not the full amount of SNAP benefits. So still the need for food banks, that coordination is still needed within the state of New Mexico. So those were some expectations from each of our departments and what update they had. And we also urged, recommended to Department of Emergency Management to come up with the incident command structure, because many of our chapters are now reaching out for coordination for a lot of these food banks, the need for volunteers, the need for food storages, the need for food transportation, even just manpower at the local level. So we'll get that update from, that's the expectation for DEM on this call. And then also the Department of Health, we did assign to get all of the resources that are coming onto the Navajo Nation, either in food banks or faith-based organizations that are reaching out to the nation to assist, because we want to make sure that everyone is coordinated and everyone is working on a master calendar on where also identifying, because throughout, we did post right now a draft of what is live right now on the council website for all the food banks that are happening throughout the Navajo Nation, also the border towns. So that is included now on our website, but we're also finding out that a lot of these food banks are now, say for example, the community of Chinle. In 1 week, we're seeing over like 6 food banks are all happening near the same day or the same time. So we're trying to spread that out to more rural communities. For example, if it's like not Chinle, maybe within Mini Farms, or if it's not in or Round Rock or Rough Rock. So we're trying to make sure that all of these food banks that are willing to come onto the Navajo Nation to help are also coordinated that way. So having that master calendar for Department of Health, and also giving healthy resources to our Navajo families. I know many are on tight budget right now, and the Department of Health, we did ask if there are, what? Oh, okay. If there are,
Because I was hearing that conversation as well. Okay. Alfred, Mike, like whoever's having
Mute everybody.
yeah, just mute. All right, Madam Chair, can you hear me now?
but we could also hear the conversations that were happening on the side as well. So I was trying to yell, speaker, speaker, speaker. Thank you.
Okay, so for those that are joining us through Zoom, make sure to use the hand raise feature for my colleagues, the delegates, so then we can properly connect you to the microphone. So we'll keep track that way.
Still on as well?
Yes, the chat feature is on this call. Okay, so where did you all hear where I left off on? I was like going 1,000 miles per hour here.
You were talking about expanding the food deliveries to rural areas.
Okay, all right. So that was coordination that needed to, thank you again, Delegate Nez. So those were some of the expectations that we talked about during the past week with the executive programs, where these were the types of coordination strategies that we were looking for as leadership, because many of our community members and chapters are now reaching out to see what type of coordination or master planning, incident command, emergency response plan to food shortages is happening on the nation. So for those that are joining us online, we do have a working food bank scheduled for the month of November on the council site. So we'll share that again. So that is a working draft, and then that will be updated every time we do get new communication, new dates, new food banks that are coming onto the nation. And then going down the line was for Division of Community Development. There were many questions that were coming in from chapters. Many of them are starting to do their own initiatives of volunteers doing food bank drives, and then also dispersing or delivering food banks. But they're also very conscious. DCD do have guidelines for them on how to do food banks or how to do food storages, how to do food delivery, or even working with CHRs on how to deliver food for those that are high risk and also for SNAP recipients. So that was also an assignment given to DCD to provide some type of procedure or guidelines for food banks or even a response. And Division of Children and Family Services has been helping in different areas. They've been trying to take the lead as the lead department to help efforts in making sure that all of the executive branch programs are coordinating and communicating together. And we also have Division of Economic Development that we added on the schedule because Chairwoman Crotty at the beginning of the meetings really emphasized what are the economic impacts that is currently happening. For example, all of our C-stores, our Bashes, our Lowe's, our shopping centers throughout the Navajo Nation, because we see on the news that many of these big chain grocery stores such as Walmart, Safeway are now getting impacted because they don't get the SNAP recipients that go in to buy food. So we also need to know that data within our own economy on the Navajo Nation on what that impact looks like. So I did send out letters to DED for a nationwide economic impact of SNAP, or just in general, the federal shutdown. They did reply yesterday that they will continue to look and start compiling data, and also got a response back from shopping center saying that their monthly revenue data won't be coming out until the next month. So they would have to go back and look at some of the transactions that have happened, and also working with those shopping center managers or the store managers if they're willing to share that data with leadership. To this day, I also reached out to Change Labs. About 2 days ago, I have not received a response because they do work adjacently with smaller Navajo businesses. And then for Bashes, we did get a response back today, and they're willing to share what they can get together for this past month on what the impacts of the federal shutdown and also SNAP benefits has on the Bashes that are located on the nation. So it gives you a rundown, colleagues that are joining us via Zoom and also here in person, of why all of these executive programs are added on our agenda today. So with that, Chairwoman Crotty did request next if the Department of Emergency Management is, I think that is a good order because it is a nationwide response. We have not heard directly from DEM as of yet. So if Mr. Edmund So is on call with us or here in person. Okay. Oh, he's online, okay. Oh, we do have hand raised by Delegate George Tolth online.
Good afternoon, Speaker, also 25th Navajo Nation Council, and also staff that are listening and people on call. Thank you, Speaker, for allowing me to speak before the council delegate and staff. The concern that I have that what we need to somehow put this on radio station, what the nation is doing. So I wonder if we have some funds to pay for it, because the community needs to know what we're doing. And again, what is the executive branch doing helping the legislative branch? So that's my concern. Somehow we need to put it on radio station and inform the community what our plans are, how we handle this situation. That's the only thing. And again, thank you for coordinating the whole thing. And we just need to come together and communicate with our community. A lot of them are single parents that utilize these, especially females and Eddie so they rely on these food stamp and then even food banks. So somehow we need to pass in information instead of us keeping this all information. And so they'll be aware of it. So somehow we can put it on radio station and inform the community what the Navajo Nation is doing. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Right, thank you, Shache, Delegate Toth, and thank you for joining us online too. So when we were meeting with several of the executive departments, we did ask for PSAs and talking points for leadership to work on. So if Department of Health, make sure to include that within your update, or if it is coming from Family and Children's Services. Okay, so keep that noted, and we'll put that as part of one of the questions and updates needed on when these PSAs, they should be done as soon as possible, because many of these food banks are happening now as we speak. And going back to EDSO with DEM. We see you unmuted, but maybe, I don't know if you had to press *6 because we can't hear you here in the chamber. Edmund, it might be your microphone because we see you as unmuted, but we can't hear any sound. Okay, maybe we'll circle back around to Edmund So, and staff, if you could reach out to Mr. So, that he'll be following right after Department of Health. And at this time, we'll go to the Department of Health. If Miss...
Hello, this is Ed.
Oh, okay, Ed, we can hear you. Ed, are you still there? We heard you for a brief second. Okay, so we'll go to NDOH. Ms. Sherilyn Yazzie or Michelle Morris?
Can you guys hear me now?
Oh, is that Ed?
Yes, this is Ed. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. My name is Edwin Stowe with the Navajo Nation Department of Emergency Management. And currently we are working and assisting Navajo Department of Health. We have Department of Health and in concert with emergency management, we have put together an incident action plan. And we do have some donors that are going to be donating some items and some food. But again, since I'm lower down that chain of command, I'm serving as what this incident is. We're calling Navajo Nation Food Distribution 2025, Food Assistance 2025. So again, I know there's people calling it different things of that nature, but we're trying to keep it ICS and NIMS compliant. That way we're all one team. We all speak with one voice. So again, I'm serving with that team there. I'm serving as a liaison and a Division Bravo supervisor. So again, I was hoping Navajo Department of Health lead was going to be here, but again, we also have Miss Nina Sloan with OEH, and so that's what we got going on. We have our trucks are ready, our two trailers, our two trucks are ready to go. We're just getting some things going, but there's also some big news that was dropped to us this morning. But I'm not on the DEM isn't taking the lead on this per se from Chief of Staff up in OPVP, the Deputy Chief of Staff. They're going to bump that down to Navajo Department of Health. So I don't really know what's going on, but we're just assisting and helping out and getting this incident action plan and getting this food out to the people. So again, if we could, you want to speak? So we're going to go ahead and have Nina Sloan from Navajo Nation Department of Health, and she'll go ahead and give you an update on what we all have completed so far. So right now we do have activated our Navajo Nation Incident Management Team, and we've been working on this since Tuesday, right? Yes. And we've been moving since Tuesday, getting all the logistical items, our needs, our plan, and all that good stuff. And mainly thing we're having trouble with is getting our personnel, getting people from the Navajo Nation government employees to go ahead and help out. So that's a big challenge for us. But I'll go ahead and let Miss Nina Sloan from the Department of Health give her update, because they have the chunk of it and she has a lot of information, and I'd rather have Department of Health speak on their behalf. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Nina Sloan. As Mr. Stowe stated, we do have an IMT set up. We are still getting things geared up so that way we can get into the set mode. So when we get the go, we can start mobilizing our resources. As Mr. Stowe stated, we are having minor complications here. We did have news that was given to us this morning, but I'm going to go ahead and filter up through the chain of command through my supervisor, Sherilyn Yazzie, to disperse that information to everybody here. But I just want to reassure everybody, we are planning with DEM, and we have an IMT set up. Thank you. Composed of Navajo OEH, Navajo FEP, DEM, and working also with DCD, and other resources that we have, NDOT as well, that we have that are all working on our team.
So along with that, the donors are going to be supposedly be donating 10,000 food boxes, and they're going to make that one drop in Chinle, and then from Chinle we're going to pick up the food boxes and deliver them to the 6 chapter areas, which are Chinle, Winter Rock, Kayenta, Red Mesa, Tuba City, Delcon, and Kayenta. Make sure you have this written down. So again, with that, we do have that plan. We're just making some minor adjustments to it, and once we have it, we'll bump that chain up the chain of command to Division of Health.
Hi, thank you, Edmund. For your IMT, the structure that you have right now, can you send over that organizational structure? So then we have that documentation if there is already a command structure already put in place, and also their contact number, name, email. So then we coordinate with our chapters if somebody needs to get a hold of planning or logistics or PIO operations. It'll be good to know who are the leads of each of those sections. And then for your 10,000 food boxes that are being dropped now at Chinle, is that a staging area?
You have, like I said, well, we have the staging areas located at the staging area. So again, the main staging area is going to be located in Chinle, and that's going to be Division Alpha. The next staging point is in Winter Rock Fairgrounds. That's going to be in Division Bravo. Next staging area or drop point or point of distribution is going to be in Delcon. That's going to be Division Charlie. The next pod or point of distribution is going to be at Red Mesa, which is Division Delta. Next point is Kayenta, Division Echo. And then Tuba City, Division Foxtrot. So within each of those, with Division Alpha, we have a total of 16 chapters. Division Bravo, 14 chapters. Division Charlie, we have 8. Division Delta, we got 7. Division Echo, we got 7 chapters. And at Division Foxtrot, we have 8. So we do have a number of food boxes out of those 10,000. So Division Alpha is going to get 125. Bravo 143, Charlie 188, Delta 143, Echo 214, and Foxtrot 250, respectively. So right now, then the areas that we're going to be doing is we're dealing with the schools right now too. So the points of distribution are going to be located at the schools. So Alpha is Pinyon School District. We're waiting on Fairgrounds for Division Bravo, Delcon School District for Charlie. We haven't set one for Red Mesa yet. We're still waiting on a word with that. And then Kayenta is Kayenta School District, and Tuba City is at Tuba City School District. And then once we pick up the food boxes from Chinle, we're going to take them to those divisions, and then that's where we're going to drop them off. And then Division of Community Development will pick them up with their chapters, and then from there they take it back to their own respective chapter areas, and they're going to divvy that out.
All right, thank you, Ed. And then if you can send over that report over and written, so then we can help easily track the numbers and also the sites that you have mentioned. And then I do have a question by Chairwoman Crotty.
Yes, this is Delegate Crotty. So I think Ms. Sloan, yesterday when you provided this update about only distributing to the Arizona side, I reiterated that this is a humanitarian effort and that all aspects of Navajo Nation should be part of the planning process. I want to clearly understand from today, Friday at 12:57, why the team is still insisting on only providing services to the Arizona communities, as we have communities that are directly impacted in Utah and New Mexico. If the donor, and it's my understanding the donor is allowing Navajo Nation to make this decision, my concern is, have you properly put that donation through the process? And there is Navajo Nation law that it does require legislative approval, and that's where we could advocate for our communities so that they could also receive the benefit of this donation. And I did ask for the information, if this is coming from the World Food Kitchen, that if they're if they were notified that certain Navajo Nation leaders only selected Arizona residents. Thank you.
why I had that going on my mind. I'm thinking down that same line. So again, for myself, I wasn't at the meeting with the donors and the department heads. I was brought in later at a later time, and I was just ordered up as a resource to assist with the incident action plan and the logistical need for it. So again, I have a lot of questions too, but again, I wasn't in that meeting and what they wanted and for the donors and who they asked. So again, I'm down that chain of command a little further down. But again, the main person that would really know would be somebody from the Department of Health with, possibly the division director. And then she had also assigned Miss Nina Sloan. So again, some of the questions you have, I have too. But again, usually when FEMA and Homeland Security do come on to the Navajo Nation, that talk about the regions and all that, I just let them know we're the Navajo Nation, we're a sovereign nation. So either way, you're not Arizona or Region 9, San Francisco, or another 7, or Region 7, or Region 8. We just call it, the Navajo Nation. So again, maybe Nina Sloan can elaborate a little more on that. If not, she could probably direct you to the person who could answer those questions for you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Questions. So I am going to go ahead and refer you to Director Yazzie, but I also want to indicate that Utah is also included in these numbers. As of right now, I believe the reason why only Arizona and Utah were included this time around was because they were going to be on standby for the legislation that had gone through that New Mexico side was taken care of. It's not to say that they will not be taken care of at a later date. Right now, what we're doing is we're using this first drop when we get the indication to as a gauging tool. So those that are responded to now, that number of course may grow, and we don't know how long the duration is going to be. So right now, this 10,000 boxes is going to gauge what every community is going to look like. Again, I don't want to speak too much on this, and I don't want to, make it sound like I'm making promises or anything like that. But we were given some news, and I'm going to funnel that news through my supervisor. But as for the IMT with Mr. Edmund So, we are still in partnership. So any other questions?
I have a few questions. This is Andy.
Mr. Toad here.
Okay.
Delegate Ness?
Yes.
Yep. Thank you. So, a couple of questions. So the first one is on if you're using IDs to identify residents who are of Arizona and then Utah. But my question is going to be kind of on the Arizona side, because within the region that I represent, which is the communities just north of Window Rock, where I understand Operation Bravo is going to be there. So how will that be determined? And I think what Speaker asked earlier about giving us a kind of an illustration on how to operate things so that we also know how to assist if needed. But back to my resident question. So we have residents along the route of in 1112 going between Fort Defiance and Navajo, and that's physically in the state of Arizona. But as you go more northward, you have residents that are closer to the community of Navajo and use the zip code 87328. So you physically live and you're a resident of Arizona, and you may even vote in Arizona, but due to the circumstances, your address may indicate New Mexico. And so how is something like that going to be dealt with? And then, so I'll pause on that question, and if I have a follow-up, I'll ask.
States who's the donor wanted that.
So So you're asking us how we're going to control all of this. So if they come to, in all reality, and not being as possible, transparent as possible, we have that is still being formulated right now. How we're going to control that mechanism. Maybe control is the wrong word to use, but if they come to our sites, we can't turn them away. As said before, this is a humanitarian effort, and our hope is that we can reach whoever comes. Our hope is that we can help whoever comes. I know with 10,000 boxes, we're not going to reach everybody. But, like I said, it's going to be a gauging tool, and we can further our efforts from there as a team, and in hopes that, we can grow and we can learn and we can do what we can for all of our communities. So that's the mindset right there. We're going to help whoever comes along. We're not going to turn anybody away. We do have a form to mark all of that down. Head of household, how many in the family, elders, because we don't know if other people are going to be helped out twice. One family may have elders, special needs, kids. So we're going to try and formulate a form that, gets everybody, and that we can track all of those numbers by location, and we'll divvy up the numbers, and we will have that as well. I hope I answered your question, or I shed some more light.
We have control. They're not down there.
Okay. Okay. So as far as the IMT, from where we're from, as Mr. Edmonds stated, how we were going to divvy up the boxes as well in all of the pod sites, which is Chile, Window Rock, Dilcon, Red Mesa, Kayenta, Tuba City. We are dividing those boxes up into the major towns. So like he said, each chapter is going to get a certain amount.
We're only responsible for Chile to the sites, and that's it. Anything that goes to the public, it's up to DCD.
We're also only... Go ahead.
Okay, so this is it seems like it's in its very early preliminary stages, because earlier you did indicate that New Mexico was not heavily considered because they seem to be taken care of, and I quote, but now you're saying it's open to all. So that kind of contradicts what was mentioned earlier, considering that all of your pod sites are also in the state of Arizona. So I'm just interested in learning now then what some of the illustration of the org chart is going to look like, how it's going to be disseminated, where the data is going to be coming from, because we do have CHRs, we have our OSERs who works primarily with disabled students and adults. So I'm assuming you would be able to obtain some of those information there. I do want to share also that once we get that, you identify the chapters, because what we found out from the Oak Ridge fire, that the DEM team forgot a chapter, and we had to remind them that there was a chapter situated there, or that there was a location that didn't have a chapter, but it was just a well-known community, and I don't want any of that to also occur here, as we want to service as many of our families as possible. So I just wanted to also add that note.
Thank you, Delegate Nez. This is so. Mr. Edmonds also has a remark, and then I'm going to go ahead and pick up after he does.
Okay, so again, our main responsibility, I wasn't at the meetings or anything. I wasn't invited, but again, Public Health Emergency Preparedness and OEH and Department of Health reached out to me and my team here to assist them with the IAP. So again, with that, we're just responsible for picking it up. The 10,000 food boxes divvying them up and then drop them off at those drop points for the chapters. From where the chapters pick it up from there, it's up to them. Again, the donor also requested something like, I'm not too sure, but again, I've been wanting clarification on this about Arizona. That was also brought up. Again, they only said they only want to do Arizona. I'm not too sure, but you're going to have to go up to maybe with the Division of Health director. Because I wasn't at that meeting, and then we did have a little get together with Public Health Emergency Preparedness and OEH, and myself with the Chief of Staff, Deputy Chief of Staff, how things were going, what's going on, and things of that nature. So again, that's what we're running into. You want to break the news to them about what they said? And then again, we got some more news right now, as of this morning, about those donations that the donor wants to donate. But again, I'm not at the privilege to disseminate the information. So again, I would ask the Division of Health Director about that, because there's some things are changing and things of that nature. And I don't want to, go down that rabbit hole and answer more questions, but I can't really tell you about.
Right. Thank you, Mr. So. And I don't know if Division Director or Ms. Yazi's on the call, or Michelle Morris, that can, because there's still some outstanding questions that were raised by Chairwoman Crotty, that how did the logistics go and planning go with the donors? And you did mention an incident action plan that was already established or drafted from yesterday. If you can send that over to, because this has been an ask from myself and several of the delegates we're 7 days in. It's 1 week later. And we already expected this was coming. So if we don't even have something that's established, or guidelines or procedures already for chapters, and we're only talking about 10,000 boxes from World Kitchen. We're not even considering all of the other food banks that are coming in. All of the other organizations that are coming in. Is that a part of your IMT within logistics or planning? Because you're only concentrating on 10,000 boxes. We have thousands that are coming in from other organizations, and how is that fitting into your IMT? And then we do have questions that are coming in from Delegate Simpson. So maybe we'll combine questions as we go along. So Delegate Simpson, I'm going to recognize you first, and then to Delegate Toth. And if someone can get a reach of NDOH, Ms. Sherilyn Yazzie, to get on the call to help answer these unanswered questions that were raised again yesterday as well. Delegate Simpson.
So our team was given a number and an area to focus on. Our team, that's what we have been doing, is just focusing on that number and what the directive was.
Sherilyn Yazzie's on the call.
Sherilyn Yazzie, we did have a question on the 10,000 food boxes that was donated to the nation, and how that happened, and how that was only geared towards the state of Utah and Arizona. We had 2 delegates that have raised that question, and how is that donation process being properly monitored, or if it has to be legislated. Ms. Yazzie?
Thank you so much, Deja. Thank you for those questions. Initially, we received a phone call, an email by an external partner, and she indicated that with the crisis that's occurring, if we could all work together and partner in bringing food to the Navajo Nation. So based on that, we began working with her, and she indicated that she would be coordinating efforts with the World Food Kitchen. And so we were So on the logistics call with her, that was what she was going to be working on. And that's Miss Julie Hammond. And I told Julie, in the meantime, are we certain that this will get approved? And she was almost certain, positively, that it would. So based on that, my initial meeting first was with Miss Nina Sloan, who is the acting public health emergency program supervisor with regards to this, and I indicated to her that we have not yet received anything from them in terms of approval. However, should it, we need to begin organizing on what our process will look like. I said, but more importantly, we need to involve the Division of Community Development, because most times when there's a crisis or an emergency, Navajo Department of Health is looked upon, and the first program they look at is the CHR program. And then the next programs they look at is food distribution and the senior center. And I strongly disagree with that. One, because we have 110 chapters out there, and at each of those 110 chapters, they are equipped with an emergency response plan locally, and the initiation of each of those emergency response plans should be activated. And so the involvement of the Division of Community Development was paramount for me. So based on that, I indicated we need to involve the chapters, because that's where local governance is at. And if we do everything at central, we're not involving our chapters. And our CHRs and our senior centers are co-located at a majority of the 110 chapters. So as a result of that, we asked the Division of Community Development to be a part of this and to, again, relook at their plans and see and to use the COVID structure that was initially used during COVID, because it's similar to what we're trying to do here. And that's where we were at in terms of looking at our process. We really wanted to make sure that we were actively including all of our leadership at the local level, whether it be the 3 chapter officials as well as the CSCs and the staff there. Because remember, the CSCs are no different than any Navajo Nation employee, any CHRs, anybody else. So they are our Navajo, they are an extension of the Navajo Nation employees that work at our chapter houses. So we were really wanting to come from a team approach to involve them so that they can execute and exercise their emergency response plan. So that was the determination on how the flow was going to be in terms of public health, a public health emergency. And the next question was, how did we determine why it was going to only be Arizona and Utah? And that determination came based on the state of New Mexico providing some SNAP benefits to their constituents, while the state of Arizona and Utah didn't. So we wanted to make sure that we were focusing on the states that did not have any benefits, and not to say that we weren't going to prioritize the state of New Mexico, but we wanted to prioritize Arizona first and Utah, and then move on to New Mexico, because the governor of New Mexico did allocate funding for the SNAP benefits. And so that's, in conclusion, that's how we made those determinations with regards to the process. And this is, and furthermore, with regards to public health emergency, this has been the issue at hand in terms of my request for this program and how imminent it is for this program to have such a plan in place. Ms. Nina is very aware of the expectations and the plans that need to be initialized for that program, especially in working with the chapters. So it's really important that DCD ASC is heavily involved in this. It's really critical that they are, because they're boots on the ground, and we never activate the employees of the nation at that level. It's always the CHRs. We could activate our social workers from the Division of Family Services as well, because I have to keep in mind of my human real estate when it comes to our CHRs. They're older women. Some of them are elderly. Some are pregnant, and so just turning this all over to the CHRs in terms of the demand and delivery of water and food isn't always good and best practice. And reflecting and assessing staffing with the CHR program. So, Speaker and the 25th Navajo Nation Council, I hope that answers your questions that you have.
All right, thank you, Ms. Yazzie. And again, if that could be included in the incident action report that will be coming from the IMT team. And it sounds like based on Ms. Yazzie's response and reports that DCD is still not involved of the incident management team that has been created. Maybe you can also touch on that, Mr. So. I don't know how that is being coordinated with DCD. That was the earlier questions from this past week, was what type of guidances or procedures, safety measures are we all providing, or the DEM team or DCD or the IMT is providing to the chapters. So we'll go back to Delegate Simpson, who had his hand raised earlier. Delegate Simpson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate that. Thank you, everyone, my colleagues. Thank you for your hard work. And thank you, staff, and everybody on the line. Thank you for your hard work to address this emergency issue. But, we talk about SNAP recipients. I think that's the most important thing. We got to think about the SNAP recipients. They're the ones that are not receiving their the benefits for this month for November. So those should still be a priority. I know when we do give emergency funds to the chapters and when they do emergency food assistance or certain things, maybe wood assistance, everybody says they're entitled to that money to get food, even though they can afford wood, they can afford food, but they always state that at the chapters that they're entitled to it too. But to me, the way I look at it right now, we're trying to address our SNAP recipients that did not receive their benefits for the month of November. I know this is a humanitarian issue here, but these are our Navajo people that did not receive their benefits. I think we should just continue to focus on them to make sure that what we're trying to do and all the hard work that's happening right now through our leadership and the staff that are online. Let's continue to concentrate. Again, a priority should be our SNAP recipients, and I'd like to see that. I know during the conversation, this will be open to everyone, but again, for me, I think our priority should be SNAP recipients and all that. So I just want to state that. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of Naabik'iyati, and all the people that are online. Thank you for your hard work. I really appreciate that. Yeah, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Delegate Simpson. And we did have hand raised by Delegate Toth. Follow-up questions? Okay, so we do have back Ms. Yazzie.
My apologies, Ashanant Danoslinigi. My final last remark that I failed to mention is that late or early this morning, we did have our final call with our external partners, and they indicated that the World Kitchen indicated that they would not be able to assist us in the food boxes. And so they did further state that based on the feedback from social media, that it looked like the nation was receiving was receiving assistance, and I'm almost certain they're probably talking about St. Mary's Food Bank, indicating that they're at various locations on the Navajo Nation. So I just wanted to report that back. My apologies for not sharing that information with my report. Yeah.
And just for a clarification, Ms. Yasi and Mr. Edmund So the 10,000 boxes that IMT is preparing for, where those 10,000 K food boxes are coming from? Ed or Ms. Sloan?
Thank you, Deja. That was to be coming from the World Food Bank, and they indicated that they would be unable to help us.
All right, thank you, Ms. Yazzie. So we're updating the board here because earlier we got a beautiful listing of staging sites with numbers. However, those are no longer there for the 10K boxes. So
Staging sites, and when we got the bad news, it just, yeah. But we were prepared. That's the plus thing, is we were prepared because it was shared with us. They were pretty certain that we were going to receive the food boxes, but it was shared earlier we would not be.
okay, thank you, Ms. Yazzie. And I just highly suggest that you report that to DEM because Mr. Edmond so earlier, they were going full force on trying to anticipate a whole response plan for the 10,000 K boxes. So I don't know if they got that report, but hopefully that gives some clarity. And again, I think I just highly suggest for DMDCD, because that was a request that we made here from the council. How is a DOH or DM or DCD, anyone, tracking all of these food banks that are coming in? Faith-based organizations are now coming in to help chapters and communities. Maybe that is an area that we can gear towards too. If there's no 10,000 boxes of food boxes, I don't know if that, maybe that's the next step of at least having a sense of coordination so we don't duplicate food locations week after week or day after day, or even on the same day. We should try and schedule it across the whole nation. So I did get a text from one of the delegates as well. Yes, there's no 10K boxes. So all of the staging sites you heard earlier are irrelevant right now until we know there's a definite delivery of food boxes. That was from World Kitchen.
So World Kitchen or World Distribution, or are they the same?
They're the same.
I messed them up too.
Okay, maybe going back to Ms. Sloan or Ed, if there's any coordination with the other food banks that are coming in.
As far as DEM, I don't even, I just been seeing things on social media, but at the same time, we're on standby for, since we're under the Division of Public Safety, we're on standby for different calls that we receive: flooding, home fires, search and rescue. We had to put off on our ICS courses and our classes so we could address a lot of this stuff. And during the flooding, we're still doing our recovery for the tornado and the flooding in both locations. And we have to put stuff on the back burner, like our winter preparedness coordination meetings. Again, all that stuff we're still working on. And some of that time, most of the time, when things do pop up regarding human life safety, we have to drop everything and respond. So again, that takes away from what we got to do to per our Navajo Department of Public Safety. But again, we're also assisting Department of Health and FEP and OEH with what they got going on. Again, so that we're and with DEM right now, we're at 3 people right now, 3 personnel. We just got 1 person on board on Monday. There's myself and our senior office specialist. So we're pretty much spread thin. And then we also, so that's what we're rolling with at DEM is we have 3 people, 2 field staff, and that's including myself and then admin support staff. So a total of 3 people there at our office. But again, with the plan that we have, we're still going to continue to refine it and use that as a contingency plan. So if need be in the near future, if we do have to do anything type of large scale type of food distribution, we'll just refer back to that back to the incident action plan along with FEP. And that way we can refine it again and make those fine tune it again to what we need to do. And again, the problem is that we are having conflicting information going out to the public. We have the 25th Navajo Council, Legislative, OPVP, Executive Branch, there's different things like that are happening. And we're trying to get everybody all under one umbrella. For some of you that have been here for a while, we do see that a lot, especially with our PIO teams. When we try to put up information, we want to make it consistent and the whole Navajo Nation speaks with one voice, regardless if it's executive branch, legislative branch, or judicial branch. We try to bring it and put the information out. That way people aren't confused and we don't have conflicting plans. So again, we have this, we have that going on. We're trying to get everybody to the table. And sometimes we, myself or Ms. Sloan, when we ask for something like that, no one even listens or even considers it. We have to go all the way up that chain of command and get those people to move. Again, even in small emergencies, large emergencies, we try to get everybody on board, but no one wants to take a piece or no one wants to be part of the team. They just give us the blind eye and sorry, we can't help, but we're doing this and we're doing that. And that undermines our human life safety, critical infrastructure, the environment and stabilization of the incident. That will also bring that down when we get enough people. So we all got to come to the table moving forward from this. And I think with the World Food Bank, again, a lot of stuff like that, when donors or people, resources pull out, we learn lessons the hard way and nothing ever gets learned from it. Again, it's just something we got to learn our lessons and we adjust to it, fine tune it and move again. So again, we need to get everybody to the table and speak with that one voice. And that way we all know what's going on and what's happening. And that way, when we do our planning or incident action planning, if there's anything that we miss out, again, we don't want to wait until we have boots on the ground, we're moving and we're dirty and 10 o'clock at night, midnight. And then we start getting messages, oh, you guys need to do this and you guys need to do that. We're already in the mix. We're already in the water, the mud, snow, or whatever. And we get those calls and those requests. Again, so when we need somebody or people to come to the table, we ask that be someone from each, not department, but each branch brings someone in as a liaison. And that one liaison that we request or that's given to us, we ask that they remain with us throughout the incident or the pre-planned event. That way, all the information is consistent. Because a lot of times we get people they'll send 2 or 3 different people in 1 week, and they all have, different backgrounds, different language, things of that nature. And we also ask that they are familiar and educated with the incident command system and the national incident management system. That way we don't have to stop and explain to them this and that. Because when we do that, that takes away time from us planning and us responding to the calls. And that takes a lot of time to do that. And sometimes people don't get it. But again, we just ask just that we do that and moving forward, because again, we try to keep everybody corralled, try to keep everybody going. And we do our job as signing our job applications to serve the Navajo Nation and Navajo Nation people.
Thank you, Mr. So, back to the question on where we were getting the 10,000 boxes from. The name of the entity is the World Central Kitchen in collaboration with for community organized relief effort. Again, our team received the number, and we were responsible for the coordination, as Mr. So stated. We are fine, just because of what happened this morning, that doesn't mean that we won't fine tune our plan. So that's where we're at with everything. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ms. Sloan, for that update again. We did hear from Ms. Yazzie stating that there are no longer 10,000 food boxes. So for those that are listening online, so disregard the information that was given from IMT teams. And then also another, it's a continued request from the council is who is coordinating all of these food banks that are coming in, the faith-based organizations, the nonprofits that are coming in. I haven't heard a response. So, and this has been a request from myself and also Chairwoman Crotty and Delegate Sherilyn Yazzie for 7 days now. So I know there's everybody that the executive branch programs, you have all the tools and skills and employees there to make this happen. And it's just very frustrating. We're at this point in time, 7 days after SNAP has canceled, that there's all of this confusion going back and forth. So just to help out the team, I did share a screen on the Zoom. If you go to Navajo Nation Council, and then there's a tab, and there's a resource page for SNAP. So what my team has done is start collecting all of the food banks that have been happening since this past week and also throughout the month of November, because our people are asking, where are these food banks happening? Who's doing it? Do they need volunteers? And the chapters are also reaching out saying, okay, how do we coordinate this? And there's this many questions that they need guidance on. So just to help out the team, the executive branch team, you can modify this page, but it's just an example of what we're looking for. If there's any type of coordination, it has all the food pantries that are coming in. Feel free. We did ask, feel free to add them or forward them over so we can continuously update it. So right now that is updated as of today, and still today we have not seen this type of website or web page of resources that is being communicated from NDOH that was assigned to this assignment. Maybe Ed, I don't know, maybe that could be given to you or any of the, maybe, I think Mr. Thomas Cody is volunteering over here. He's volunteering to take over and use that same template for a page. So those are some directions that we need someone eager to take on the task and say, okay, we'll do it. And then also there was a request of how many families are actually impacted, because right now the data that we do have is this only for the state of Arizona. We have 23,000 households that are affected, and that family can range from 1 to 7 house members within the household. So that's overall this household, 23,000, a little over 23,000 individuals, meaning just one person that is a SNAP recipient is over 46,000. So just for the state alone for Arizona is nearly 75,000 people or more, including children. So those are some of the dates or the data that we also asked the team to help gather for the state of New Mexico and Utah. So then as legislators, as appropriators, it gives us a sense of what the need is out there and how can we start either through appropriations with budget forms that can help mitigate. Because right now we've been waiting for 7 days trying to see what is working best. And then so then we can help make sure that the staff is there, that the dollars are there, that the budgets are there to expedite this food access plan nationwide. So we're not discriminating between any of the states. The need is there across all the 3 states, especially during the holidays. So I just wanted to reiterate that again. And for maybe this is also another question is I keep hearing OPVP chief of staff or deputy chief of staff. Maybe they do already have a plan on how to do food access. If anybody does have that resource, you're more than welcome to send that over to myself or any of my colleagues to see how that instruction is going along, because we do need a structured plan. I don't know if the chief of staff from the executive branch is joining us. If you are on Zoom, Ms. Duncan? No one? Okay. Yeah. Okay, so Sharon Sandoval, Deputy Chief of Staff, if you do have a report from OPVP.
Hi, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you for having me. My name is Sharon Sandoval. I'm the Deputy Chief of Staff for the Navajo Nation. So good afternoon, everyone. The update that I wanted to provide on where we stand regarding potential food distribution priorities and the coordination, like among our divisions. So first, I've already reached out to the Department of Emergency Management and Commission on Emergency Management for updates on the emergency classification and to clarify the legal aspects of our involvement. Per our meeting the other day, we're waiting on confirmation to determine whether this will be treated under an emergency response framework or within existing program authorities. So what we currently know about funding, and I'll just reiterate what Director Sherilyn Yazzie had shared a little earlier, the funding across the 3 states that we've been monitoring. Arizona, the state of Arizona currently has about $1.8 million allocated by Governor Hobbs for food banks and new food voucher programs. New Mexico has mobilized like a much larger quantity, $162 million in emergency relief funds, which includes major allocations for food assistance. Utah has about $4 million directed towards food processing grants and resilient food systems infrastructure. So even though Arizona's funding amount is smaller, there's some key reasons why it would still make sense for the Department of Health to prioritize Arizona at this point. First, from a jurisdictional standpoint, Arizona falls directly within our area of operation and authority. Once DEM and the Commission on Emergency Management, 2 very separate entities who I just want to reiterate that they do have to work together to confirm the emergency status. I know sometimes we have individuals that are not part of Navajo Nation government on the call, so I just want to clarify that the Department of Emergency Management is separate from the Commission on Emergency Management, and they have to work together to confirm the emergency status. We'll have a clear legal pathway to act under existing Arizona frameworks. So secondly, Arizona has already established distribution mechanisms. So the food bank network and the voucher program, which means we can align and mobilize more quickly without needing new agreements or cross-state approvals. But third, our divisions are already positioned to take the lead here should this happen. And once again, this would be from an emergency declaration standpoint. The Division of Community Development would coordinate the community-based aspects of distribution. Again, these are our chapter houses. And then the Department of Health would address the public health components, especially if the situation is classified as an emergency. So to summarize, over on the OPVP side, we have our community representatives who are out in the field day and night, meeting with chapters, making sure that they understand that we may be getting prepared to declare an emergency here and that they have everything that they need. So our community reps are deployed. They're in the field carrying out regular duties as well as ensuring that the community is prepared. And our recommendation to prioritize Arizona for food distribution efforts under the direction of DCD and DOH while maintaining liaison coordination with neighboring states. That concludes my update.
Thank you, Deputy. Since you did mention that the executive ESAs are out in the field day and night and helping assist the chapters, earlier we had a question from leadership on what type of guidelines or a template of any emergency food access plan to the chapters. It sounds like you have that plan. If you can forward that over.
Quickly, of course, you can find it on our president's webpage. However, I will be sure to send a copy to all council delegates. It is a template that our community representatives have, and it is building every day.
Thank you, Ms. Sandoval. And I don't know if you're part of the IMT team. Was it mentioned earlier? So if you can also work with them. So at least we have all the same information, because yesterday DCD did not have that information to provide to the chapters. And then we have next comments from Chairman So.
It sounds like we're all over the place, and I get that the programs are trying to get things in order, and this information pertaining to the World's Food Bank information should have at least been expanded on before the meeting has started. That way it wouldn't have been imprinted into our thoughts that an additional 10,000 food is going to be disassembled and or taken out to the regions, into the 5 regions. But at the end of the day, the plan, we had years to get this together, and andan kitoji without the nebata itself. And it just really makes me think that, every year we appropriate monies for readiness and things like that, and it really looks like that something of this nature is not part of the administration's books. And it's just hearing the statement from Deputy Chief of Staff that the Emergency Commission and the Emergency Commission Office is 2 different things. And there's there's walls that are continuing to be brought up, and I think that we have to get away from that. I commend employees out there, but I think we need to get better planning, and we need to get the correct planning process out there as soon as you can. And then also how you monitor these food banks that come into the nation and what's coming in, what's coming in from St. Mary's, from Phoenix, what's coming in from the food banks that deal with our border towns out there, whether it's in Farmington or Albuquerque or Gallup and Flagstaff. It really looks like we have a lot of work to do pertaining to this, and it is just listening to the dialogue here. But I know that you guys will try to get something together, and a lot of the employees were part of the distribution process that happened during COVID. How come some of those strategies aren't brought back to the table. You know, you had chapters working out there. I can remember Tuba City chapter being the hub and getting the food distributed to Tuba City and utilizing the fairgrounds there to try to get this food and these things distributed to the chapters, whether it's water and food and medical supplies. It sounds like the administration now is redoing everything again, starting from scratch and starting from point zero. So, just in case, just listening to the administration. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Chairman So, for those comments again. Kodoshi o Naika from the council leadership. I know there's that fine line between that duties that we uphold, but we want to make sure that the executive branch is utilizing all of its skills and tools that it has underneath its branch to come up with a plan and also putting up guidelines, a structured plan where our people can look for assistance or even resources. And as appropriators, it gives us a sense where the lag is or where there's additional dollars that are needed or resources that are needed. So then that helps us make us a decision to draft a legislation. So those are some of the areas where we were just hoping that a great system could have been in place by now. So then it would have given us the opportunity to fund such a plan. So again, Chairwoman Crotty, I think some of my colleagues were looking on the OPVP website, and maybe I do see hand raised by Deputy. If you can direct us to the food chapter strategy guideline plan that you mentioned in your statement, if you can just walk us through the website and where we can find that.
Absolutely. Thank you for calling. My mistake, it looks like it is being drafted by the media. So it was released on President's social media aspect and not on the website. That is my mistake. I clarified that it is actually on the social media and not the website. And just very quickly, I did want to reiterate what you had just mentioned. I appreciate you mentioning that essentially in honor of our three-branch government, I wanted to recognize that the Commission on Emergency Management and Department of Emergency Management continue to come together on a monthly basis to maintain open communication and clear lines of coordination. That collaboration is essential, and it ensures we're unified in both planning and response when it comes to supporting our Navajo people. And that this particular emergency the lines are a little blurred because in the eyes of the law, the government shutdown currently in the eyes of the law is not quite seen as a disaster. So until we can continue to navigate that and work with lawyers both on the executive side as well as the legislative side, until then we're in the process of preparing and putting in place other measures with DCD and DOH. And again, if an emergency is declared at that point, we would be relying on our own Navajo Nation funds unless the legislative branch can coordinate with the president's office to draft and pass a resolution that allocates additional resources specifically for this effort, whether that's through food vouchers, direct assistance, or another form of community support. But I do applaud you that the key point here is coordination.
All right, thank you, Ms. Sandoval. And we're just also reiterating that across the board for NDOH, DEM, DCD, like you mentioned, being active and proactive on meeting and making sure we have response plans, and it's just conjointly. It's just not for DEM itself or the commissioners, but it's just a whole across any of the programs or departments that provide direct services. So I iterated on the last meeting call that there should have already been a plan in place because we learned a lot of lessons already from COVID, and the last administration already done a whole nationwide food drives. There should have I know that as being part of the ICS team back then, I know there's already an existing plan. It's just how can we reframe it now just to narrow it down to SNAP recipients? And that's the type of coordination that we need right now, because we're already post 7 days in of not having a SNAP for many of our families. The holidays are coming up. I know we've been calling these meetings daily. So hopefully that, again, this call gives that enthusiasm for the team to come back together, reevaluate what has been said and what's not working, what are the issues or what are the barriers. But I'm here, even if I have to call these meetings for the whole team to get together, then we can continuously to have leadership meeting calls to make sure everyone's all on the same page. And I did see hand raised by Delegate George Toth.
Thank you, Speaker. I've been raising my hand for a long time, finally recognized. Just listen to everybody. I think my recommendation to the Speaker, Executive Branch, is to bring this plan, how we gonna coordinate this whole plan in regards to food distribution, whatever, and present it to Naabik'iyati so we can have the same tone. So right now, all we're doing is certain groups are coming out with these plans. Now we rely on emergency, individual, and then we depending on health. The way I look at it, as executive branch should be the head of all this. Junhida, us councilmen or 25th legislatures are the one that's coming out with this issue and trying to inform our community. What is the chapter plan, or especially the community chapters? Community development, there's Mr. Charlie's. What is his plan? And present it to us so we can have the same information when we go out to our chapter. Right now, we're just, blaming each other. To me, this whole thing should be from the executive branch coordinate and put this plan together. All we have to do is, support them. But it seems like we're the one that's running this government, which is on call for, and that needs to stop. Right now, the executive board, or not executive branch, executive staff should be helping us to put all these plans together and present it to us. That's the way we should be. And remember, we all advocate for 110 check, and not only Arizona. I was very disappointed how it was coordinated without New Mexico. Remember, the sun comes up from east, so you have to remember that. So we're just like, everybody else, we need help too. So it is Arizona jail no. So in other words, we're going to get the leftovers. Case. So I kind of disappointed the way it's coordinated. 또 그런 주체하지, Mr. So I totally agree with them that we should have a better plan, not until this happens. So we should have some type of plan in place by the nation. So when this happens, we just take over from there, whoever's that responsibility. We're trying to put those plans together. We should have a solid plan when something goes down. So we rely on one organization that we work for. So I know some staff don't want to volunteer because it's thought that so it about this. So again, remember we advocate for all 110 chapter. Any donation that comes in should be like, central area should be Window Rock, and from there it goes up to other agency. We should have those plans in place. It's just like allocating monies to the chapter. I just wanted to say, I know you're trying to put some plan together. Let's have a solid plan that we can work off so we don't have to have, meeting after meeting. So let's say, about this. Also, thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Toth. I do see hand raised by Delegate Law.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Shadeja, for recognizing me to speak. I'm listening, and I do want to also just make a recommendation. We do need the Division of Community Development and the ASC program to be present during this meeting. The reason is that all chapters should have emergency assistance funds. And if we could send a request to DCD to give us a listing of all the chapters that do have emergency assistance. And now, to my understanding, those emergency assistance funds are also tied into the emergency response plan that each chapter has. And I know Mr. Roderick Begay from the chapter unit of Department of Justice did send out a template to all chapters. And from the last report we received, they were almost 100% completed with all 110 chapters having that response plan. We do need to see if their response plan would allow for the allocation of assistance for food provisions for families, because as you heard from Deputy Chief of Staff Sandoval, normally it's tied to disaster conditions. And so if that needs to be revised, then perhaps that can come back to the RDC committee so that we can issue legislation which allows for chapters to use their emergency assistance funding for food provisions. But we cannot do that unless we get a running tab of chapters that have that line item into their funds. And if they don't, then that would give us an evaluation of either council allocating money for emergency assistance, but we cannot do that until we get a full review of what they have in their accounts. So that would just be my recommendation. And then another topic of discussion with the Commission on Emergency Management, being a commissioner, we do have very thorough discussion. So I'm glad that Mr. Edmondso is on the call, and he is correct. They've been dealing with different conditions of disaster that have occurred on the Navajo Nation, and to where they have not fully recuperated into finalizing reports. And so it seems like they've just been moving from one incident to another incident. And then we as commissioners have been assisting with just the declarations and finding resources for them. So one of the other recommendations I have is if we can get a report from Mr. So to see if the budget that he currently has will suffice to carry him through these upcoming winter months. If not, and if the council chooses to do a legislation to allocate more emergency assistance to chapters, then perhaps we can include a Department of Emergency Management. So when my chapter was hit with the flood, I did include Department of Emergency Management as well as two chapters that were affected by the flood. So perhaps that could be legislation that we can present to council. But again, it would need DCD and ASC to do the work. Another topic of discussion that we had as a commission was, as you heard again from Sandoval, We did have a discussion as to, is it within the means of the commission to declare an emergency? And so one of the recommendations was that perhaps that could just be done through executive order from OPVP, but I don't know if that's anything that OPVP has discussed. And if so, then that would allow for the executive branch to go ahead and work on how they would be delivering services. And so those are some of the recommendations that I have. And I just want to also thank everyone for the updates that were given here today. And I know many of our communities, they are very thankful for the food that's being delivered by these food banks. And so I just wanted to add that to Deja, and thank you for allowing me to offer those recommendations.
All right, thank you, Delegate Law. And maybe, I don't know if Edmund got those questions. You can just do that report maybe on a later date. I know there's, maybe you probably do need time to evaluate and assess your budget. So we'll just give you that time to provide a later time to provide that update on your budget. But are there any other SNAP questions that are coming from my colleagues? Chairwoman Crotty?
Thank you, appreciate it. I'm looking at social media and I still have not found this community food plan. We do have Director Thomas Cody here. So, Speaker, this was provided to leadership, this issue over 3 weeks ago, and at least for the last 2 weeks, or at least the last 2 Fridays from here, we've been notified and trying to work and coordinate with the Washington office to get the executive programs to mobilize. So this leaves only then the council to act. And the protocol and all of the other issues are moot right now because we have relatives and community members that don't have the resources to access food. If the Navajo Nation doesn't have a plan right now, then my question is, how do we deploy funding directly to the people? We've asked Controller McCabe, was it 2 weeks ago, or last week, while we were in court, to develop how we can deploy FRF dollars in the form of a hardship and deploy that out to our people. We need a response because I'm not sure how much more we can do to get executive programs to work together. And I'm not clear on how executive programs are determining what part, what relatives are receiving resources and who is not. That is not the core of our teachings, and we don't know everyone's situation, and so our planning should be in a broader sense. So my question to Division Director Cody is, are there immediate ways we could deploy resources to people to relatives or families that you're currently working with who may or may not be affected by the SNAP? I know we're asking relatives to call into 211 because there's not a coordinated line here on Navajo Nation to provide resources. And I've already been able to find funding. There was COVID donation money that DEM can deploy 3 weeks ago to start with deploying food out. And so as a council speaker, and we've submitted the legislation, I know everybody is trying to determine if this is an emergency. It is. Bring council together. Have us determine by our vote that this is an emergency, identify funding, and deploy it out. If the FRF office is not ready for the hardship checks, then direct them to immediately develop that process. But what can we do on the ground to get food access? Bashes or Lowe's, everything that we did at COVID, we could mirror for this this issue. And also, the SNAP participants are the ones that are the high risk right now, but we also have other community members who have low food security. So what I'm looking for this conversation, and everybody could have their opinion, but I'm asking as a delegate that a legislation be drafted right now, call council into session, and we allocate funding. And by that time, we'll know how much collectively we could allocate and give our people a timeline. And we need to be accountable. So we called up these meetings Monday. What is everybody doing? Nobody was centralizing or anchoring that conversation. So we had, the follow-up meeting yesterday, and no one coordinated that call. So colleagues, that's why we're here today. And I asked for it to be live streamed, because everybody has to be accountable on what they are supposed to be doing to help our Navajo citizens. So that's my request, Speaker. I know a few of my colleagues dropped the legislation yesterday. If Legislative Council does not want to draft it because they don't feel that it meets the emergency definition, then I'm willing to challenge that perspective. Because when you go into someone's home and they don't have food, that's an emergency, and that's what's happening right now. We're getting pictures of, individuals, what they have, what they're trying to sell to get access to food. So that's where I'm just at right now. How do we deploy funding, do high priority, but get funding out there? And, if the chapters, there's very progressive chapters, and if they're willing to help and assist deploy, then let's identify them. Let's make sure they're part of the process, just like COVID. Not every 110 chapter was able through either capacity or staff or volunteers, but there are some that are willing. They have active CERT teams. I helped with a Roadrunner food bank distribution site yesterday. These are regular deliveries, but what is their plan then to help us just to get access to food, or just purchase the food fresh from Bashes, Lowe's, talk to the C-store owners, because they all have their orders that should be coming in. And if, so I want to pause there because I don't want to go on too long. I think that's just a direct request. Can we do it? And if the attorneys want to challenge us, then let's have a meeting right after this call. And we'll work with the people, because the people are demanding this. So there has to be something within our tools and in our scope to get some type of relief out there as fast as we can. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Chairwoman Crotty. And there are delegates that do have legislations that are currently being drafted for this particular issue for food access and food shortages, and also emergency type of funding, and also declaring an emergency. So we'll get back with our Chief Legislative Counsel to make sure those legislations are expedited. Yes, we still have updates that are needed from Family Services and also DCD. So first, since we do have Mr. Cody here in the council chamber, I believe he has all the answers now. Director Cody?
Yeah, Shananta, I Sinaltrangi do, Shananta, the Isinaltrangi, Bishmas on Mashiniki. Yeah, thank you for bringing us together again. I think I'm just going to go down the items that I spoke to
my chair, Mr. James, Vince James, Chair James, and also Vice Chair Jermaine Simonson, and then also the Speaker, President, and also Chief of Staff Heather Duncan. So number one was the press releases. We started doing the press releases. Karen was doing the press releases until the other day when we met, and that was turned over to the Department of Health. So my request would be that we also do continue back to where we do our press releases to inform the general public. My second request would be I currently have LAHEAP recipients and also Community Services Block Grant, school clothing, applications are online. And my request was that OOC through Sean and also Mr. Robert Willie expedite those checks. There's such things as P codes. Those that are listening that don't understand the process, there's P codes, which makes it a lot easier to process checks, which is the LAHEAP and school clothing. So those can just go into a batch, and if we, right now the staff are working on the applications that we got this week to drop on Monday to do for P code and for those checks to go out, and hopefully those checks can go out by Thursday. And that's where I asked Chief of Staff Heather Duncan to help me expedite those checks, and also did the same with the Speaker the other day when we met, is that those checks need to go out. Right now, we have sometimes up to 3 weeks to 2 months before a check can be processed. So I really need help getting those checks, because LAHEAP, it's not for food, but people can use those money for other expenses and then save the money for food. Likewise, for Community Services Block Grant, those monies can be used to purchase. And we all know that once a person gets a check, it becomes part of their budgets. So that's where I think a lot of us can help our Navajo people if we could do that. I also asked President, Chief of Staff, and also Speaker that I would like a supplemental funding. Let me back up a little bit. School clothing. We opened school clothing, and it was gone in 4 days because we have an online application process and also people that go on site. So $1.4 million was expended in 4 days. And hopefully those checks will come out next week once we do package everything and drop it as a batch for processing. So next week, if we could have those school clothing checks out next week, it would be great. So my request was, I have a process in place that I can expend $1.4 million online. And remember, all our people, not just SNAP, people on SNAP need food. We have people that are working, and that's where I'm really thankful that we could do our salary increases. We have people, tribal employees, that make far less money than the McDonald's employees. So those are the individuals that need help too. So it's just not so Council, if we're going to do a assistance, it should be across the board for all the Navajo people, even those that are living in the cities, because we have relatives that live in the city that live paycheck to paycheck. And I see Facebook posts in Phoenix, our Navajo people are asking, can somebody help me? I need food. So supplemental funding, I honestly think $5 million will help. The next thing that we did from the division is we increased our incentives to our child care recipients. We'll have a press release that goes out today. Our child care providers, they also got an incentive because of some of the individuals that have their children there that are working need money. Department of Self-Reliance, our TANF recipients, we also increased their incentives, so they got a little extra this month. GA recipients, the same thing. So Shanant, those are the things. The other thing that I was tasked to do was contact community development, and I did. I talked to Ms. Yazzie, Director Yazzie, and also we exchanged email with Jiren, so they know what the task is and what the ask was. So I think I did my part. So, and then I also spoke with, I actually texted with my chair and vice chair. So my date with them is Monday on how we could ask for supplemental funding. But I think if we could get that down through council, president supports an additional incentives to our people because of the food. Remember, this has never happened. The government shutdown has happened before, but SNAP has never been impacted across the whole United States. So if we could just focus on how we can get additional resources out to our Navajo people, that's, and Delegate Karate just explained why we can't just reach into ARPA and use those dollars. That's a process you have to take. But for general funds, you as delegates, president, you have the ultimate authority to use those funds. And you also have the authority to say, this is an emergency. Let's use these funds. Let the chapters use their emergency funds at the chapter level. So that would be my response, Delegate Crotty. We have a system in place. Oh, one other thing that would happen was the only individuals that I can cut checks or take applications from, and the check get cut easier if we went the school clothing route. OOC, the controller, would have to, for those that have never received a check through the Navajo Nation system, the AB numbers is the biggest barrier that we have. There's only one person throughout the whole Navajo Nation that creates those AB numbers. I have vendors that, and this is part of the reason why we can't pay people within a week or two. Sometimes it takes a month because those AB numbers. So if we went, and that's probably what the controller will tell you, is that if you did a reservation-wide or Navajo Nation-wide, maybe he might have a better system because they did the last assistance run. But AB numbers are, getting an AB number for individual is so hard to do because there's only one person that does that. So Shanant, my recommendation is that the Navajo Nation Council appropriate funds, emergency funds out of the UUFB, because that's under your control, the control of the president, and I think both parties, both branches will agree this is an emergency and we need to get money to the people. We're 7 days in, we've done our part, getting incentives to the people that we provide services to, getting LAHI applications out, and also community services block grant applications out. But I need your help in getting those checks processed by next week so people can start, because Thanksgiving is just around the corner. Our task as the managers, program managers for Department of Family Services is that we at least get some monies into the pockets of individuals before Thanksgiving so they can buy their turkeys and whatever they need to do. So Shanant, that would be my response, Delegate Crotty. That's what we've done, and that's what my proposal is, that you all appropriate some money.
Thank you, Mr. Cody, Director Cody, for that report. And earlier, Director Cody said he can also take the lead in doing that master calendar resources as well for all the food banks that are coming in. So we'll crisscross back and forth and make sure that we share that same information and that same tone across the board our web pages. Follow-up question by Chairwoman Crotty.
Okay, we're moving forward. So we have about 4.2 million at DEM right now. Okay, this is a leadership meeting. DEM's over law and order, goes to NABI, council as a delegate. What will it take for DEM to push that money out? They can push, I think, I gotta pull up the legislation, but I think it was like 250 or below. They don't need to come to the committee or oversight. But now that there's been no action, Speaker, I'm requesting, let's do a legislation to allocate that money. It's at least 4.3, because UUFB also has requirements, right? Like OMB has to sign a memo. I'm saying because of this emergency, let's start waiving a lot of that red tape just to get the funding. Things don't happen overnight here on Navajo unless someone is pushing it. And so what is it that we need to push it? We could talk to Office of the Controller, and I just text the Deputy Controller, because of the hardship a few years ago, did that create AB numbers for all of those relatives who got a hardship check? And if so, then at least we're in a better situation where more of our relatives probably have that AB number. But it's an internal issue. And then for colleagues who are on the line, how we need this push. So if we all agree and can come together for a special session and get this legislation before us, if President Nygren or someone from his team can come over, hey Gabe, and say, okay, this is what we could, this is the funding we could agree on, where it's coming from. Like, that's what our people want to see. And so if you're, I don't know, what'd you say the amount, Cody? I don't recall, because someone said what Gila River's doing, and they're giving 1,000 to each tribal citizen over the age of 18, but they only have like 21,000 members. So that's like $21 million. We don't, like, what are the numbers, and then what are we looking at to, help offset where we're going? Because if we're doing $21 million and there's over 400,000 citizens, that's like $50 each. And it takes about $50 in admin costs just to issue a check. So that's why we need to have some more clarification how we're going to help. I think it's very innovative, to do the put more money into the school program, to say this will offset to help you, instead of having to spend money on clothes, then you could offset that by, food or LIHEAP. I think that's very innovative, what we could do now. And so those are some of the questions I would need help with. Speaker, I teased Director Cody when he was talking about people making under McDonald's. I mean, right now, the council, we're making, $12 an hour? So I could go to McDonald's and make more money. But the focus here is to help get relief to the people. And so what is it that need? And then what are the next steps? And who's going to be there on the call? Because we can't keep saying, I know colleagues are saying meeting after meeting, nobody's even meeting. That's what I'm saying. This is the first time there's been a coordinated effort, so that who are going to be the main players that make these decisions, and what other delegates want to be part of that discussion to get this plan ready so that we collectively can all sign off on it and move it forward in an expedited way. That's, Speaker, so if you could give me some guidance, and then we push collectively to say as delegates, this is what we want, at least the funding, and then put notice, because we have to decide who that funding is going to go to, and it can't get stuck somewhere. And we've been asking for, ASC and DCD, and if they're not giving information to the chapters right now, we do have the Auditor General under legislative, and let's have a conversation with the Auditor General, and maybe in the legislation say the exact intent. The intent of this money is to be deployed out for X, Y, and Z, so that there's no, gray area on how chapters, if, if that's agreed upon to deploy out the money, or if it's programs to deploy out the money, because we don't need it to get stuck somewhere by someone saying, well, I don't know if that's how the money should be used. And that's not some individual's discretion, and that's where our money that's where the funding that's going to go to this relief effort may get hung up, because I've seen it happen in the past. So those are some critical areas that will need leadership, and how we could then, if Deputy Chief of Staff is still on the line, if they want to come over or continue the dialogue, some feedback, then we dropped a request yesterday. It was pretty comprehensive, and we just need that update now. Has OLC looked at it? Has it been assigned? Are they going to draft it? Do we need to give a template? And then what type of funding we're looking at and how it'll be deployed out. Because it really should be deployed out like, in days, right? How can we get this deployed out? And it sounds like some of those programs under Mr. Cody's shop can help, and how Auditor General could help us in terms of monitoring and making sure this funding is going out to who needs it. And also then it's something that we could do as a nation right now. It's not sustainable, right? It's not sustainable. And then our efforts that we're going to do in DC to make sure if there's going to be a bill passed this weekend, and that's also something that we would have to take into consideration. But because I'm trying to remember, there is some, Navajo Nation laws that does say, the supplementing federal funding, the way our laws are set up. So that's why we would need someone's help in there to identify all those barriers, so that if we're using this as either, the Chiyaan Access Action Team, or what was the other one? Navajo Nation Food Distribution 2025, whatever anybody wants to call it, but nobody has a plan to fund it. That's my frustration. We just need a plan to move forward. And we could fund it and move forward, but it has to be for all of Navajo Nation. That's it. So I'm thinking at the very least, at least $20 million to get us started and move forward. So if you could have Chief Legislative Counsel, if we could work on that, get that dropped tonight, call a special session, call us in. I don't know the status of the virtual, oh wait, we said no council meetings on virtual. Call us in. All of our communities are impacted, and we vote it and get it together and talk with President Nygren, Vice President Montoya, and do this for our people. That's what they need right now. They need decisive leadership, decision making, and then now monitoring to make sure that they're at least taken care of during this rough, choppy water. Thank you, Speaker and colleagues.
All right, thank you, Chairwoman Crotty, and I'll make sure to relay all of those recommendations back to our CLC, who is trying to text her right now to get a time frame. So I'll make sure that we have that time frame established for, I believe there's 2 legislations that were requested, and if the sponsor can work with the CLC on you sponsoring the bill, that to make sure that the intent is set and what is the deliverables. And next, we do have still need updates from DCD. If you're still online. Oh, first, before we go to DCD, they can prepare. We do have a Delegate Nez. I do see your hand raised.
Okay, thank you, Speaker, and thank you as well for the discussion here. So I just want to add a few additional suggestions that maybe can be queried as the potential emergency legislation is being drafted. So I don't know if there are additional CARES funding. I know that previous addition to the DEM's funds for emergency, that consideration had came up regarding the CARES. I don't know if that's something that's been fully utilized, as well as some of the donation funds that came out from the previous administration. So just trying to also include any supplemental funding opportunities that I think could have the potential to support the proposed legislation. And I'm also looking forward to those figures as well, because I know we have a lot of our relatives who are living in urban spaces where that support is also needed. And once some of those details come out from the legislation, I know Chiyaan did ask if we're local. Fortunately, I'm not right now, but I would be interested in kind of understanding more of the complexities that are going up to either DCFS or DOH supporting the families. So those are the two additional items that I wanted to add in the event that there are other opportunities to help supplement. It just adds more to the support that we're seeking to provide to families. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Delegate Naz. Yes, we do have some several dollars that could be supplemented for the efforts. Right now, we're looking at DEM budget that we have written on the board, the COVID-19 donations, which is a little over $4 million. That is similar to each other, and also the controller has yet give us an exact plan on how to move forward with any of the FRF dollars that are sitting there. So we'll make sure to give those balances out as well once we get those numbers. I believe we do have the numbers already for the COVID-19 donations. All right, thank you, Delegate Nez. And going back to Chairman So, and then we'll go to DCD.
I think that if council can retract two particular legislation, and I think we will have money. If we only use this $5,000, and people are going to think that it's across the board. It's going to be, or not, correction, 5 million. It's going to be across the board for everyone. And if you look at the, and if it's only for the SNAP recipients, you know, I'm okay with it. But people are going to look at this that, you know, it's for everybody. And $5 million is not going to really fund everybody, the adequate amount. You know, I think the numbers was 400,000 people. Why can't we rescind and reappropriate the $168 million that we infused for the senior citizen project? And then the 291 million that's tied up in the RRR. And you put those two numbers together, it comes out to $459 million. That you can get something out there to the people, and it's probably going to be about $600-700 per Navajo citizen. That's just what something that's out there. We do have monies, but we just need to see where we're going to get it out of. Just out of the $291 million just sitting there in the RRR. That's line item vetoed. We have not come back to the table on that. And then the $168 million that we can reappropriate that. But it is bonds. Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chairman So. Again, I think the last hardship amount was over 500 million. Yeah. Yeah, because I know many of our people say that there's other tribes that are doing it, but you have to just look at the population. There are just only like 13,000, less than 10,000 but we have over, I think the last census that or the one vital records report, it was over 420,000 and still growing. And DCD, if you're online, there were several questions regarding food distribution plans, emergency plans that are set in place at the chapters, or how is the division helping many of the chapters are already taking their own proactive measures to provide food access or storages. DCD?
Hello, my name is Chiyaan. I'm the administrative assistant for Mr. Jerron Charlie, the department manager for Administrative Services Centers, and I was directed to be here to provide updates from our department and Ms. Yazzie. Can you hear me? I just want to make sure everybody can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. You can go ahead with the report.
So unfortunately, my leadership couldn't be here. My manager is out sick, and Ms. Yazzie is otherwise, obligated to some other things. So this report is just on what the Department of, so the Administrative Services Centers Department is currently doing with planning efforts. So currently, we're conducting data collection from the Navajo Nation chapters. And this is an effort to aid the response to the food distribution or any potential food distribution deployments. So right now there's an assessment form that's gone out to the 110 chapters, their officials and staff, to provide us with key information, like the chapter's contact information, which I'm sure a lot of you know we have some turnover with the personnel at chapters, and plus some new chapter officials have come on board. So, we're identifying primary points of contact for coordinating food storage and distribution activities. The other information we're trying to collect is food storage capacity. So if there are any documents available for storage space for non-perishable and perishable foods within the chapter. So this is like checking if what the chapters have as far as equipment, refrigerators, freezers, walk-in coolers, storage equipment, and then current food distribution operations at the chapter, and the emergency preparedness and food security planning. So identifying whether chapters have an updated emergency response plan and whether those plans include processes for responding to food insecurity at the community level. And we're asking questions about their partnerships and resource coordination too. So if they're working with any food distribution organizations, and their operational capacity and limitations. So just their staff availability and facility constraints. So that's an assessment that just went out today, and we're hoping to get full participation from the chapter by end of today. So having that data collection completed by end of today, 5 p.m., to support any planning efforts that involve the chapters. So that's what the Administrative Services Centers is working on, and is mainly just data collection to help aid planning efforts, at least with this assessment form that's gone out.
Right, thank you from DCD. And is there already a template in place for any of the guidelines that can be forwarded to leadership or the IMT team for food distribution?
Not that I know of right now. I know this assessment form we've sent out, I think, is the main planning tool for updating something like that.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to open up for questions now for leadership. I do see hand raised by Chair Eugenio Charles Newton via Zoom. Chair Regina Charles Newton?
Oh, Speaker, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So I appreciate all the information that's coming in. Just know, colleagues, that I did send an email to Mr. Duncan, and Speaker, maybe you should get him on the call. I think a lot of these, points that are being made right now, especially by Delegate Otto So, with, helping the Navajo people who are in need of assistance. We do have, right now, we have Navajo people who are on furlough. We have Navajo people who are currently soldiers who are deployed, whose families are being impacted. There was a woman who called me from Okinawa last week, and she's out there with her husband and with her kids. She doesn't have, I guess, what's called like a work license or like a work visa. I'm guessing it's a work visa. Her husband is there. He's assigned there in Okinawa, and she, without him getting paid, she had asked if the Navajo Nation, offered assistance to families who were being affected by the furlough. So we're looking at right now families that are being affected by the government shutdown through furloughs who are not getting paid. So I guess in a way, it's a little bit more than SNAP recipients of not receiving food. We kind of have to think about everybody out there who is being affected by all of these things that's happening, not only with our Navajo Nation, not only with our federal government, but also what's happening here with the Navajo Nation. And I did ask Mr. Duncan if we could get information on really the numbers of the number of Navajo people who are currently who have their CIB. I also requested the full amount of ARPA hardship, because I remember we put aside $500 million, but I believe that we also added later on with the legislation to help assist families who did register. I also asked for a breakdown for those who are over the age of 18, so we can get those numbers as well in preparation for the hardship. And I did ask Mr. Duncan if he could have that ready for us by today, giving him some time to get that information together. I haven't heard from him yet, so maybe, Speaker, that is something that we should probably call in CIB office to find out what those numbers are, so that we know what we're looking at in terms of doing this distribution, sending it out, because there's a lot of people right now who are in need of assistance, and then also identifying what the issues are internally, all of those laws that we probably would have to waive so that we can get people get people paid out. We're looking at a lot of issues that's happening right now. A lot of our Navajo people are being affected, and it's not just those within the borders of the Navajo Nation, but those who are living off the Navajo Nation as well. Speaker, I just wanted to bring that up and to let my colleagues know that we have been trying to get that information from Mr. Duncan. So maybe now is a good time to call him and to let him know that we are having these discussions and to start getting that information. During the 24th Navajo Nation Council, Delegate Crotty and I remember we tried to sponsor an amendment to give more funding to the CIB office so that they could invest in a database, a better database that would help track these numbers and something that would be easily accessible. But at the time, Mr. Duncan came on and said he didn't need that money, and he didn't need a database because they were already investing in a database that would help produce those numbers. So maybe we can call him on the line right now and ask him to give us that information, so at least we know what we're looking at for all of the Navajo people who are over the age of 18. Thank you, Speaker.
Right, thank you, Chair Regina Charles Newton. I've already planned to do a separate leadership Naabik'iyati committee leadership meeting for hardship just specifically, because we would need the controller and also all of the departments that do have ARPA money to get expenditure rates and also what has been feasible, because right now we're not on track of spending the ARPA dollars. So we can call another leadership meeting, just solely just on the hardship and what mechanism or what system could work to deliver those resources out. So that will be a meeting between the Naabik'iyati committee, also the Office of the Controller, and then again, Vital Records. We'll make sure to send a reminder to Mr. Duncan to have all of that data ready for enrolled members. And also, we're just seeing some news outlets saying that the USDA might be able to push out the SNAP or going to comply with the court orders at the federal level. However, we heard earlier from Washington office, even though if that does happen, it will still take a month or more to push out those dollars because it does channel in from the federal level, then it gets sent to the state. So right now, 3 states, and then those being deployed on to our citizens across the states. So Washington office did state that if it does get restored, say tomorrow or even tonight or over the weekend, it will still have time and people will still be, it might not even be replaced until after Thanksgiving. So this is very important for the executive branch team to continue to work and come up with a strategy. Again, post 14 days now that we're still waiting, but I'm still open to doing these internal leadership meetings to making sure that everybody's doing their action plans or following up on the task list that needs to happen. But we'll be pushing out also another public release, disinforming our public that we are trying to expedite these resources. But again, that request again from the legislation or the legislative branch to executive branch, we want to see a plan very soon. If not by tomorrow or over the weekend, that the program says have the tools and the skills over there to get this done. So that's one of our highest expectations as appropriators, and we want to make sure that we're appropriating dollars to the right department that is working fast because Thanksgiving and also the holidays are approaching. And colleagues, any final comments again or recommendations for the next follow-up meeting? Or what action items could be seen? Delegate Ness?
Okay, thank you, Speaker. Well, I'll go because this is Cindy. So, the other thing that as I'm listening to the discussion that's worth also just looking into is with our state partners, and it might go beyond the 3 states that we primarily work with, considering we have families in other states as well. But if the whole SNAP benefits, for example, the funding that potentially could be allocated for SNAP recipients, then I wonder if it's feasible to provide that. I'm not sure how this would work, or even if it's done in the past, but those funds would go directly to the states to help them choose if they already have the information. And I know through the New Mexico caucus, we've been trying to obtain data as well from New Mexico on which other list of recipients that are Navajo. And then the other thing is considering how maybe coupons or I'm trying to think maybe coupons or something that we know that these are going directly to impacted families with limited food. So just thinking about how that can go and ensure that it does go directly to purchases. Thank you.
Okay, thank you again, Delegate Nez. And if NDOH and Family Services has heard those recommendations, to also look into those. And next we do have Delegate Tolt, and then I'll move on to Chair Regina Charles Newton. Delegate Tolt. Delegate Toll. We'll go next to Chair Regina Charles Newton.
Thank you, Speaker, and thank you for that clarification regarding hardship. So the comment that I made was not really, like, it did pertain to hardship. However, what I was trying to make clear is that Delegate Otto Still made a very good point, and that is that, you know, when we're going to be giving to SNAP recipients, we're going to have other Navajo people who are going to come forward to say that they are also experiencing hardship because they might be on furlough because of the government shutdown, or we've got military families that could be affected. And so what I was trying to make clear is I did ask Ronald Duncan for the number one, how many Navajos do we have registered who have their CIB? Number two, who are over the age of 18? Like, how many are over the age of 18? Because regardless of whether the federal government is going to be moving forward with SNAP, as you stated already, it's going to take probably we're looking at probably a month. We can't tell our Navajo families that, just wait a month, relief is coming in a month. We should be able to provide something to them to help them, during this time, because SNAP is going to be addressed in 1 month, but we still have people who are on furlough. We still have the government shutdown that's affecting the lives of our Navajo people. So what I was saying is, I think we need to get those numbers. We need to know how many are over the age of 18. So we have a number to start with. And that's why I was saying that, we did kind of start that process. So this is I guess, aside from the hardship, but it was the hardship that actually prompted us to start asking those questions of what are we looking at? So I think we need to get those numbers right away. And I appreciate the leadership meeting regarding the hardship, but we need those numbers right away. And that's why I was asking, I think we need to get Mr. Duncan on the line to pull those numbers. We need to know, number one, how many Navajo people have their CIBs who are registered with the Navajo Nation? And then number two, how many are over the age of 18? So we know what the numbers are. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Chair Regina Charles Newton. Again, invite was sent to Mr. Ronald Duncan. I don't know if he's joining us via Zoom. Mr. Duncan with Vital Records. Chair Regina Charles Newton, we don't have Mr. Duncan joining us on the Zoom or here in person, but we'll make sure to do that follow-up email again. And then for closing comments from, we'll go back to DEM. Are there any closing remarks from IMT teams? Ms. Sloan or Mr. So? Okay. Ed, we see you're as unmute, but we don't hear you here in the chamber. Okay, or Ms. Sloan? Okay, I don't hear any responses from the incident management team. So colleagues, any other final comments?
When do you think that legislation will be ready?
CLC said by Monday.
Why by Monday? What's the issue?
Yeah, they said they'll connect with the sponsor. I'm not the sponsor, so well, I'll just make sure that. Yeah. Who's that?
Hello?
Oh, Miss Sloan?
Yes. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, what was the question? I'm sorry.
Based on all the discussion since throughout the day, are there any other points or recommendations or any report just based on the discussions today that you might have or to reflect on?
Just that I will reflect on today and I will take everybody's recommendations into consideration. Thank you very much for all of that. And moving forward, I will still continue to be as transparent as possible and do what we have to do in order to learn from this and move forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sloan. Okay. All right, and I don't see any other hand raised on Zoom. Colleagues, any other final thoughts? No. Okay. Yes. So we'll send out a press release from council, and then also, again, we'll include the link that is for the website on the council page of all the ongoing food banks that are happening now. So those are updated hourly once we do get new information.
And do we have money for the radio, or do we need to take donations?
For council, we're just using press releases, not radio announcement right now because we don't have no operating budget. That's where we were relying back to NDOH or family services that could help spread the word on that. We do have Karen that's here. I believe you volunteered, Karen. Yeah, so we'll work on the recording, that united message that we are working on this and making sure that we keep the public updated. So Karen, we'll put you on our listserv. All right. She gave a thumbs up. All right, everyone, thank you again for being on this call. We've been on the call since noon. It is now 3 p.m. Once we do get a new date identified, we will have a new date identified for another follow-up meeting for all of the executive branch programs. And I do see chat online. Yes, regular Naabik'iyati is scheduled for Thursday on the 13th. So it might, if there's no time up to then, just be prepared also for the executive branch programs for a report that may be added on that agenda as well. All right, thank you everyone. Have a wonderful Friday. Have a safe weekend. We will be in touch.